this quit. Go, go.
Hello and welcome to the Mobile
anything?
Tech Addicts podcast. This is show number, what are we on? 233. I'm your host, Gareth, as you can see along here. For those of you watching, if you're listening, then you can't see anything other than what's in front of you. Back this week. Sorry about last week. I don't remember what happened last week, but something happened.
It was the eclipse.
Oh, yes, it affected the direct audio input devices somehow, in some way, and we all got lost on our way home. But this week, as you guessed from the helping hand I had there, we have Jay Garrett from Gadgety News. How are you, Jay?
I'm very fine. Thank you very much for asking.
Excellent. Becoming a bit of a regular, which is a good thing. Excellent. Welcome. And
Enjoy.
We also have Phil Lain from the Fast Lane.
Something like that. Yeah. Evening, Gareth.
I noticed you're wearing spectacles tonight.
I am.
Well,
They help me see.
So is Jay.
Yeah, you're the odd one out.
I am, yeah, and I bet whenever Matt joins us later on, because currently he is having a little bit of trouble due to curry, he should be on later on, probably with spectacles as well, because he'll have checked beforehand to see what the fashion requirements are. Okay, well, it's been a fairly quiet week, to be honest. There's been a few bits in news, but we have a theme that we're going to try and cover at some stage during this, because both Jay and myself have been evaluating similar products. No, sorry, not similar products, identical products over the last week from the same company. So we're going to have a chat about those and various solutions, recommendations, tips, and just a discussion about all things fun to do with home security. But first and foremost, we're going to have a look at the big headlines, and over at a little website called Gadgety News, there's coverage of an HTC One M9 Plus, which features dual cameras and a Quad HD display. Do tell, Jay.
Well, you've basically covered everything I know. It looks like it's a larger screen, and judging by the wallpapers that were leaked, that's where the surmising the Quad HD comes from. But again, I'm not sure if it's coming over here, because the launch was in Beijing, so it might be an Asia-only thing. But where there's a will, and if you want it, I'm sure there's a way to get it.
Okay, well, yeah, hopefully it is that, well, I suppose it's another super flagship, if anything, but it'll be nice. Sorry?
Our favourite, the super flagship.
Yeah, silly title, but I guess we'll have to deal with it. Yeah, Phil, you're big into your big phones. I remember you had the Max, didn't you?
Yes, I did. I saw this during the week, and it looks like something. Often the Far East, they get slightly different variants because of different network requirements. And I think there was also the E9 Plus was also announced, which is a more basic version of the M9 Plus.
That's a plastic version, essentially.
Yeah, the plastic version. I think that something like that would be good in Europe and the rest of the world as well, something with a slightly higher spec. All for it.
Okay, all right. I don't know if the viewers on YouTube are noticing, but Phil's broadband is maybe a wee bit swamped at the moment, or a bit slow. But to be honest, whenever he was making that last comment, he looked like this. And then he changed that facial expression to, which obviously for an audio podcast is comedy dynamite. So this has an octa-core MediaTek processor inside it. It's Snapdragon 810 in the regular M9, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's a noticeable difference. But then MediaTek is really making a name for itself over the last couple of years. It has gone from the more budget version of Snapdragon or Qualcomm to slightly bigger, better devices, and even tablets have been using them. So I think they're a force to be reckoned with, and certainly coming up third in the list of popular processors in Android phones and tablets and stuff. Yeah.
And it looks like this has got the 20 megapixel camera as well. So, but it does look like there's dual lenses on the back. It seems to be a beefier lens on the back. So, I think there's something on there as well. After that chat about the ultra pixel being moved around, there's definitely looks like there's two lenses around the back.
Well, whenever I went out to London to see the M9 just before they launched it in Barcelona, I asked one of the engineers about the likelihood of redoing the Max or a new version of the Max for the new age. And all he answered was, "That's a good question."
Nice.
A bit of a hint, probably, that something like this was being worked on, but still no confirmation that it's going to come to our shores. Do you think it would sell if it did? Would HTC be mad to market this here?
I don't know. Looking at the big iPhone and the big Samsung, people are actually buying them. And besides, if they are going to market as the latest version of the Max, you always have Return of the Max.
That's a song, isn't it?
Almost. Move on.
Okay. Phil, you're into your Danzy Ravy stuff, aren't you? You had a lowered Peugeot in the...
Yes, let's not go back to that. It did have a lot of subwoofers.
Jumanji, wasn't it? No.
It did have some subwoofers in the back of it as well. I liked the Max for its size. The spec was poor, in my opinion, compared to others. The screen, I think it was only a 720p screen, and with a 6-inch screen size, it was somewhat let down. I was a big fan of the Sony Z Ultra, though, which Sony have also not replaced during the other exploits since then. But that was a great phone, but probably a bit too big. So I wouldn't like to. I think 6.4 is too big for a phone. You are approaching a tablet, but that does make for a good iPad mini replacement, or any of the 7-inch Android tablets in one unit.
Well, yeah, you're quite right, yeah. And if it's priced right, especially using something like a MediaTek inside it, I think it's more likely. But given that it's got a MediaTek, but it still has 3 gigs of RAM and a 32 gigabyte variant, that's not sort of minimum specs. You know, that's not budget range.
I think in this case, the octa-core, doesn't it point towards? I think it might point towards the fact it's for the Chinese. Is it TDMA networks rather than the GSM and LTE?
Right in there.
The other version of 4G that is available over in the Far East. I think that's what's been done in the past with Samsung devices as well. There were some of them that were Chinese market only, and I think they were, again, the octa-core, I think, perhaps.
Oh, okay, right. Well, octa-core seems to be the flavour of the month at the moment. Even budget phones are getting octa-cores too, which is nice to see. But I don't think people quite understand exactly the makeup of an octa-core processor. I know I had it explained to me by Samsung whenever I picked up the octa-core's Note 3. I just thought this thing's going to be the fastest thing in the world, and it wasn't. And they said, no, it's actually 2 quad cores and one slower than the other for battery saving purposes. And it swaps to the faster one when required, thus using more battery. So octa-core doesn't necessarily mean super blazingly fast speeds. I find that quite interesting. Is that the sort of thing that we can expect from these new ranges of octa-cores? Phil, you like these sorts of questions, don't you?
I have no idea of the answer to your question, unfortunately.
Okay. Jay?
Well, I think with the larger screens, and if you're getting Quad HD screens, there's only so big a battery you can fit in the back of one of these. So there might have to be sort of a playoff for energy saving. So if you have got a slower one to do emails, social browsing, and all that kind of malarkey, and then it steps up to a super fast one if you're gaming or video streaming, just to help the battery last a little bit longer, would make sense.
Yeah, yeah, but I do wonder if they're, as with everything, people get greedy for speed, and these sorts of things, if there's the potential for them to be hacked, where you can use both processors together, like overclocking a processor.
Yeah.
People do that despite the fact it becomes unstable, and it can overheat and blow up, but people are still they take it on as a challenge to be able to do this. So if you've got an octa-core processor where there's two quad cores running in tandem, or the potential to run in tandem, and make things go even faster, then people will try to achieve that in one way or another. And I'm just wondering if that's become the norm. Like, would Samsung be doing that with their octa-cores, or are they still using the power saving features that they originally set up? Because one of them is essentially redundant whilst the other one's running, and unless you
space.
Well, yeah, if you've got a Note 3 and you're not using any kind of processor intensive apps or games or whatever, or running lots, then the faster processor in there might not actually ever be used, which completely rules out the need for having an octa-core processor.
One of the things I found with one of the things I found with my time with the Nexus 5 and the LG G3, the Nexus 5 very rarely runs at its full processor speed because it thermal throttles. So even if it does manage to get up to the 2.3 gig, it will drop back quite quickly, and you're running most of the time only at about 1.8. So it wasn't running at its full speed. It got very hot very quickly. The LG G3 had wonderful battery life if you weren't doing much with the screen, because that had the QHD screen. The moment you did anything with the screen at all, battery just plummeted on it. And that had a 3000 mAh battery, and I think that was a 2.5 gigahertz Snapdragon 800. So that's just your normal quad core. Yeah, I'm going to say quad core. But that shows you just having a single fast processor really can suck the power pushing the pixels about, and that wasn't a fast phone either because it only had 2 gigs of RAM.
True, but then there is a subtle balance between processor and RAM that you can't skimp on one if you're really boosting the other, but then what's the point?
I seem to remember there's also another thing with applications actually have to be written to take advantage of extra cores, so they actually have to make calls on them. It's not just about it being in hardware. I think sometimes the software has to make a call to it to require it. I know that's one of the things with the iPhone they talked about when they went to multiple cores, because I think they've got a 3-core. I think it's 3-core just to be really odd. And you actually have to program that in, and I think there are some elements of that. It certainly was with computers in the early days. You actually had to program it to take advantage of co-processors and extra cores and extra threading things.
Yeah, and yes. Along the PC lines with the overclocking, my machine's overclocked, but it's also water cooled. So there's that cooling thing. You are running something, you're pushing it, so you need special cooling. And I can't see modders actually start water cooling phones, because that's going to be interesting. And going about the programming for the extra cores, you can have 4 graphics cards in a computer, but then not all the games are going to work. A lot of them will work at most with 2 cards running at the same time. So again, it's having people program and write applications that are going to take advantage of these bits and pieces. And we still want a really thin phone. We want a nice light phone. We also don't want a phone that'll leave a big red mark on your lap because it's running extremely hot. It's tricky because there's not any cooling in a phone, really.
No, there's not. There's not even vents for sucking air in. I got this little camera the other day. It's an action camera, like a GoPro. And
Okay.
I'm trying to work out what it was on the bottom. I can't even get it out of the waterproof casing. But there's holes in the bottom that's cooling for the processor, because whenever it's recording 1080p and maybe switching files or whatever, it really heats up. It's a very processor-intensive thing that it's doing there, and compressing it and putting it onto the memory card. So it requires a little bit of cooling. But if you look around any phone, you've got a speaker grill, micro SD card slot, and aside from speakers and holes for obviously cables and stuff, there's no actual holes to let any air in, especially when you're holding it as well. That's the heat from your hand. It's a miracle that phones aren't breaking down quite quickly.
On top of all that, we're slinging them in a waterproof case or a fancy leather, an aluminium case or whatever. Just make it nice and snugly and warm.
That's quite right. Yeah. I guess we're going to see that in the future. Imagine water-cooled phones. The designs would be class.
Don't drop it.
Don't drop the liquid hydrogen one.
Oh, there was methane as well. They were talking about methane too, weren't they? Oh, that was a battery.
Like a hot air.
So yeah, HTC do seem to have a decent roadmap ahead. It'll be interesting to see just how well they're accepted by the general public, especially. I think people are saying that the M9 isn't selling as brilliantly as they'd like, and HTC are struggling once again. But with this, and especially the E9, I do like the E9. And that Desire Eye that they put out is a fantastic phone. Really, as if they can just go more toward something like that that's fun, tough, good looking, and just it doesn't have to be as high end as the M9 is, and they'll be back on track. Whilst we all know and love HTC in the years gone by with their peak selling devices like the Desire or the Touch Pro 2 and 1, all those, the Diamond and stuff like that, they have always been a balance between sturdy, rigid, beautiful devices, but they haven't gone as far as being a real kind of iPhone wannabe level of premiumness, whereas the M9, M8 and M7 have hit that level and arguably exceeded it, I suppose, especially with this M9. I do think it's possibly the most attractive device ever that HTC have put out, and it's not a draw because you'd be scared of damaging it. It's an awful complex, I think, that HTC have here, where they just can't marry up premium quality with desirable goods. It's a shame that market's been taken. Samsung aren't really trying to do that, but they're just injecting a little bit of a higher end here, there, and everywhere, and people really appreciate it. Yeah.
I could see some wisdom in HTC not going for the high end and creating a excellent spec mid-range device. Forget the premium materials, make something plastic, good quality plastic that feels nice, with decent spec internals. That will fly out the door, because actually there's not much out there. There's a lot of things trying to be high end but not ever going to reach, let's say, I'm an Apple fan, the levels of the iPhone, and yet they're selling SIM-free for the same price as an iPhone.
Yeah.
They're never going to have the level of cachet required. I mean, even when you go back to the HTC Diamond you mentioned, that was far more expensive than the iPhone at the same time. That was when the original iPhone was out, and it was 180 quid from the Carphone warehouse for an iPhone because they made a mistake by not making you sign up to a contract to buy it. And they were selling, I think my Diamond was $599, I think.
Wow.
A lot of money back then, and I didn't even like it. I went back to a Nokia E71, which was lovely.
I didn't like the Diamond either, actually, to be honest. It was a very nicely designed device, but
it had a silly back.
It did. It wasn't flat, and it wobbled a lot.
Yeah.
But they made the Touch Pro, so that was just be all and end all.
That's
yeah. Beautiful device, beautiful. I should buy another one of those. Every time I do that, I see them on eBay, and then we do one of these podcasts, and they go up in value because the four people that listen to it go and buy one. Yeah. So, okay, the future of HTC then is make a Desire Eye 2, and we'll all be happy. Maybe various sizes, because the Desire Eye is a very big phone. I think it's 5.3, 5.4 inch screen.
That was the iPhone 6 Plus size one, and they also brought out the 820 at the same time, which was iPhone 6 normal size, exactly the same size. Yeah.
But the 820 was a low-end phone, wasn't it? It wasn't
low-end phone, but you had the two phones that were exactly mimicking the iPhone sizes. iPhone 6, two sizes. Good.
Like so many other companies.
They looked good. They looked lovely phones. So.
Yeah. Liana has the Eye, and she loves it.
Not striving for the high end, and I think that is where the sweet spot is. I think everybody's trying to get the high end. Don't try. Go for the mid-range.
Yeah, become the reliable Ford Mondeo or the Vauxhall Insignia. That's what everyone's buying. Not everyone goes out and buys a Mercedes or a BMW because
the biggest selling vehicle in the world is a pickup truck. So make the pickup truck.
That's a fair point. Yes, that was on Top Gear, wasn't it, a couple of weeks ago?
It was, yeah.
They sell one every second or something like that across America.
The Ford F-150, yeah.
Yeah, which they don't do here.
No.
No, we have the crap instead. Okay, so next up, moving along. What do we have? UK pays the most for SIM-free smartphones in Europe. Yeah, I'd agree with that. That's another news story from Gadgety News, courtesy of Jay. What do you think? Are we paying more than everyone else? What's the score here? Do tell us, Jay.
It was something that was squirted along to me by Idealo. Apparently, they've done a survey, looked around Europe from their localized European sites, brought it all together, and to be honest, not really surprised, because I know whenever anything gets launched in the good old US of A, it's instead of being transferred over from their dollars and then the exchange rate, it's basically just swap the dollar sign for a pound sign, which ain't fair anyway. But it looks like we're getting completely skinned in Europe as well, even though we're supposed to be a lovely, lovely family of Europeans all being lovely together. We're still forking out quite a lot more than, well, a heck of a lot more compared to Italy. Apparently, they got 285 euros to our 323 euros on average for a SIM-free phone. So I'd rather have that in my pocket.
Well, yeah, you do see quite frequently on bargain websites phones from across the continent, and I think Expanses tends to do it quite frequently, where they'll be selling imported devices from Italy and Germany to the UK market, because there's good money to be made there. But what was it? What's that new music service? Tidal? That was announced the other day, and it's $20 for the premium service, £20 for the premium service. So there's no exchange rate there at all. Is it just them being so cheap in that they don't want to have to go and work it out, or are they just going, oh well, we'll make more money this way? Yeah. What do you think, Phil? You have been to Europe.
I have been to Europe. Well, at the moment, with watches, it's exactly the same thing. I obviously buy a lot of watches. If I buy them from Europe, I pay significantly less. For example, I just had one come in last month that I paid 350 euros for, shipped to me on eBay, and that's 450 quid's worth in the United Kingdom at retail. So you could probably get it slightly less, but I've saved 100 quid. Well, at the moment, more than 100 quid, because the exchange rate is ridiculous at the moment. It's wonderful, having just been on holiday. So yes, we do seem to pay more in this country for everything, I think.
Yeah. Tax, fuel, duty, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jay, you were going to put in another point there, were you?
I think I was, but absolutely no idea what it was. I think it's probably just something on the lines of the fact that we're still supposed to be in austerity measures as well, but we're still getting hit top dollar for any sort of, well, not even luxuries. Even the essentials we're having to pay more than our neighbours across a little bit of water.
Is it the sign that, well, obviously there's an election looming, and they're saying about how we have the best economy in the whole world now? Is it a sign of that? Obviously, we have more money since we've got a great economy, so they can charge us more for premium high-end devices, or even just devices in general.
How long does that sort of take to trickle down? Because I'm seeing none of that.
Yeah, they're just taking your money and keeping it.
I'm sure it's very, very safe. Bless them.
Yes. Phil, you work with Boris Johnson. What does he have to say about this?
I don't actually work with Boris, but we are going to get political. We said we weren't. Let's say out of
well, you referred to him as Boris, so is he your good friend then, Boris, or is it Mr. Johnson, or sir?
I've been in the same room with him, yes. But
Was anyone else there?
Yes, there were many people there.
Room covered. Yeah.
Where was I going to go with this? In this country, we do ask people to pay tax on their products they sell. Perhaps they don't always do that in every area of Europe. Let's say we do have a country that is not on the verge of bankruptcy, and perhaps there are some sacrifices you need to make to have a decent country economy, let's say.
So perhaps they're giving tax incentives to stimulate the economy.
Or perhaps people just aren't paying their taxes. They're not paying perhaps what they should be, so they haven't got the business rates and business taxes for setting things up in some areas of Europe, which may not be that far away from you, Gareth. Just south.
Yeah, just a wee bit over there. Yeah.
That's really, you have to have offset. You have to offset things. We actually do have a country which is doing okay-ish in the world economy. The pound is nice and strong. The euro is nice and weak at the moment. So actually, it's helping us buy things across Europe for less money at the moment, less of our pounds.
So what we can take away from this is, if you're wanting to go out and buy a device SIM-free right now, you should start checking Amazon.eu or Amazon.Poland.
Yeah. eBay, buying things off eBay is very good, can be very good, from foreign countries. That's all I can say there.
Okay.
Successful transactions with Germany.
With mobile devices, or do we go there? No, we don't go there.
With watches. Watches.
Okay. And Jay, you're noticing this as well because you have a large watch collection as well.
Yeah, this is not a euphemism. They are actually watches. But yeah, a lot of mine tend to come from Germany, to be honest. There's bargains to be had over in Malaysia and over in Asia, but can't always guarantee that they're on the up and up. But but like I mentioned before, Expansis might be worth checking out before you make a SIM-free phone purchase as well. At least they've been around a bit rather than doing the eBay thing.
Well, that's very true. Yeah. But I think they. Well, yeah. Okay. Has anyone been through Heathrow lately?
Nice woman. I don't know. No.
Oh, okay. You haven't noticed the giant Toblerone sitting there that is £80.
I saw them in Gatwick. They had one in Gatwick, yes, recently.
Do you
It's
think there's a
nice.
chance that I could get that in Europe cheaper?
Actually, I did see them because it's not as exciting as you think.
Depends what you're doing.
They are actually small Toblerones inside a big box.
No, you're not saying. No, stop talking right now. Don't spoil
Sorry
it.
to say, it's not you wouldn't get a triangle of Toblerone that is the size of a piece of cheesecake. They are actually...
I'm cutting you off now, okay?
Good night, everyone.
Crushing blow.
I've just shattered your dreams.
You are indeed. Next, you're going to tell me that Playboy is all put on. Right. Okay. So moving on.
I don't know.
Okay. So next up, there has been some benchmarking of a certain new flagship that might be coming along that could have revealed some of the specifications inside it. The Sony Xperia Z4. Which is one that we are pretty excited about, to be honest, might have, given that the benchmark results that came back, it might be powered by an octa-core Snapdragon 810 with 3 GB of RAM. What they do know is that it's possibly going to have a 5.1-inch display running at 1080 by 1920. That's QHD, isn't it?
No, that's just an 80p.
Oh yeah, fair point. Yeah, sorry, I was looking at 1920. Yeah, with the Adreno 430 graphics chip in it, and possibly 32 GB of storage. So very similar specs to everything else that's on the market at the moment, but from Sony this time around, which means it'll have a bit of waterproofing to heat it up, and you can drop it in the pool when it overheats. And it'll have Walkman built into it as well. It'll probably lose support after 2 months after it leaves the factory workshop, so you'll never get an update to it again. No, that's not right. That's a bit mean to say.
Gosh.
Yes, it is. Phil, you are a bit of a Sony fan whenever it comes to Sony phones. I believe you've owned a few in the past.
I have.
Does this one turn your head at all?
No.
Oh.
It just seems very much like the Z3. I mean, we wait to see what they've done with it looks-wise, but I suspect it's going to look very much like a Z3 that looked very much like a Z2 that looked very much like a Z1 with a decent screen. More of the same, really. There's not really much you can do with the phone to differentiate, and Sony have got their own individual style, and I like what they do with the software, their overlay they put on top of Android. It's not very intrusive, and you can get back to a stock Android look and feel very easily. The Walkman, they've had that in the last couple of iterations, and it's worked okay, along with their Bravia engine for the screen technology. Yeah, but it should sell well. But much like we've said with the M9, it's pretty much the same thing rehashed again. Also, to throw on top of this one, the same thing has happened with the G4, LG G4. That's got benchmark specs have also come out, which I think Qualcomm Snapdragon 808 processor, 3 gigs of RAM, 5.5-inch. There you go. There's the Quad HD display, and it has the 808 because it doesn't have the alleged heating issues that are plaguing the Snapdragon 810. Because the Snapdragon 810 is overdue by about 6 months.
Well, I spoke to HTC about this when I mentioned to them. They announced that it was going to have the Snapdragon 810 in the M9 to say that obviously the LG Flex 2 was overheating, and they said that they cannot replicate the heat issues that LG are suffering, and Qualcomm will stand by the results, which I think is quite interesting, especially since it's LG again that are reporting that it's overheating.
And the Nexus 5 overheated, and the G3 wasn't great heat-wise. Maybe it's the LG build methods.
It could be, yeah. Maybe their software writers aren't quite as Great writing software as HTC. Well, I don't know, or perhaps HTC is yet to be tested fully.
Well, I've knew I've seen it. I've just got a website up right now, and they did a heat map of the iPhone 6 Plus, 1M9, 1M8, LG G3, and the Note 4. The 6 Plus coming in at 39.4 degrees Celsius, and the HTC One M9 coming out at 55.4. Obviously, these are being driven pretty hard, whichever sort of loading that they're putting on. But I'll sling a link over so you guys can see it. But I think when this was tested, the caveat was that this wasn't the release model. This was like a pre-release model.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's possibly showing the 810 processor getting a bit toasty in everything, really.
Yeah.
Toasty.
If this specs for the G4 are to be believed, the 808 is a, what does it say here? Hexicore, so 6-core processor running at 1.8 gigahertz. So that's interesting. It seems somewhat, yeah. So 6 cores instead of 4.
Fit in with what I was saying earlier about the octa-core, about 2 quad cores. Obviously, one cancels out the other whenever it requires
I think a hexacore's not. It's actually a 6-core processor, possibly.
Aha. Okay.
Yeah,
So that might.
If it's 2 3-cores, which would fit in with what the iPhone uses. Interesting.
Okay.
Or it could be 3 dual-core processors.
Well, we could always put that out to our knowledgeable listeners and viewers if you have
Tell us what
any
they got.
thoughts or any ideas as to whether we're barking up the wrong tree here. Let us know. Send us an email, podcast@tracyandmatt.co.uk, or just check one of us out on Twitter.
Indeed, should we be concerned about it? Should it worry us?
Yeah. Because you wouldn't want to go and order a large cup of coffee and get it in 2 cups, would you?
Although there are pubs that won't serve you snake bite. You have to get a lager and a cider.
Mix it yourself, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, it's a burger van as well. If you order the half pounder, you'll get 2 quarter pounders and sitting on top of each other. There we go. That's like an octa-core, maybe. A juicy analogy that's actually made me quite hungry now.
I'm going to have a biscuit.
It's not the same.
Okay, so the Z4 looks routine. They're doing 6 monthly refreshes, aren't they? So it'll do. It's yeah, you're right, Phil. It's exactly the same as the Z3, just with a wee lick of paint to it. So next up is the HTC One, or the new One M9 is a hot phone. Heats up. Oh, yeah. Oh, see, that's the link that you put in. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, sorry about that.
All right. Well, next up is Tidal, which I just happened to mention there on the exchange rate factor. But Jay, I'm guessing you're a wee bit excited about Tidal. No? Yes, maybe.
I've been using Tidal since it came out the end of last year, because I just got fed up. Even on Spotify Premium, when I'm putting it through various bits of audio tech I get to review, you can tell you're dealing with lossy digital files. Tidal, on the other hand, it's because there was only one option when it came out, and that was the full £20 one. But you get in high-res audio, so it sounds really, really sweet if you've got putting it through a DAC into your headphones and everything. It's CD quality, and the same goes for when you've got it on your mobile phone. you're streaming it, and if you've got a portable DAC and it's all really, really nice, you can have some decent headphones, and you're not getting that lossy, kind of crappy MP3 sort of sound going to it. They've relaunched. Jay-Z bought Tidal, or bought a huge chunk of Tidal earlier this year, and it is being revealed that him and a bunch of other music artists, I'm not going to say musicians apart from Jack White's amongst them, but they've all joined forces, and basically they're pushing it as the first music artist owned service, and they've brought out two different layers. One's the $9.99 one, which you get the same rate as Spotify Premium, so that there's the same price as Spotify Premium. They're not doing a free level of crappy audio, but they're keeping the top tier of the £20 full CD quality, lossless audio. And to be honest, I'm hoping that it goes the right way. There's a couple of bits and pieces where that obviously it's a business, so they're not going to be completely altruistic about it, but they are paying more royalties to artists, but only through the £20 service. The $9.99 service is still going to be not paying the artist so much. But I like the interface, and I definitely like the premium audio on it. It's twice as good as Spotify Premium, but you're also paying twice as much. So it depends how important high-resolution audio is, I'm guessing.
Yeah, do you think people will fully understand that, or is it just one of those things that people are, they're probably just happy enough with their Spotify, and they're not? It's more for purists.
I think it's the high-res audio side of things is coming more consumer. It's not all geeky people like myself that go sniffing around expensive hi-fi equipment and stroking things with lots of letters. I think as split as Beats headphones are to people that like them and people with ears, there's that brought a lot of people into almost getting used to spending £300 for a pair of headphones, where before people go, oh, I get these free with my phone, they're all right. Now people have been exposed to what semi-decent headphones cost, and when they shop around they think, oh, I can actually get something that's probably not as street looking, but a really good pair of headphones for £300 or £400, and then all of a sudden the MP3s sound crap. So I think that has brought people on a little bit. They're wanting to experience better quality sound, and obviously you've got Neil Young with the Pono HD player. There's quite a lot of companies now bringing out the headphone amps and digital analog converters that are about the same size as a mobile phone. So you're actually getting a little bit of a hi-fi system in your pocket now, and any sort of lossy sounding files are going to be emphasized. If you've got some decent headphones, you forked out for an amp or the very, very expensive Sony Walkman high-res player, you want something decent to play on it as well, rather than a very low bitrate rip of a CD that you did back at home. So I think the market is changing, and as phones and players are getting more memory, mini SD cards are getting cheaper, and you can get them with like 250 gigs on a little mini SD. There's a space there as well for the big files. I think the small bitrate MP3s first came into their own when you didn't have much storage, and now that's kind of changing. You can get bigger files on, and sort of cloud-based storage. most places have got Wi-Fi now, so there's this space to have decent sized audio files.
Mhm.
I think it's great. It's going to be interesting to see what this bunch of people. I mean, there's a huge mouse and a couple of robots amongst them. Anything could happen.
Well, Tidal is it's more for downloading and taking with you as opposed to streaming, because streaming you would lose stuff on the go if you were just decide to listen to an album on the way into work or whatever, and you would want to have that queued up and ready to go on your device before you leave the house, because obviously the files would be a lot bulkier.
I listen to Tidal at work using their Wi-Fi, and at home using my Wi-Fi. Yeah, I mean you've got sort of offline storage as well, but where I used to just jump for Spotify if I just want something in the background, I'm now using Tidal, and I do prefer the sound, and you can copy and paste your Spotify playlist straight into Tidal, and it just finds all the tracks. I think there's a difference. I think Tidal's got 25 million tracks and Spotify's got 30 million, but all the tracks that I had were just grabbed straight across, and it just got my playlist back. So it's really easy.
Yeah,
but you are paying 20 quid a month, so it depends how important it is, really.
And that's good to hear like a positive spin on it, because since announcing it, all I've heard is, oh, I wouldn't pay that for that, and maybe there's a large misunderstanding of what actually you're paying for here, like paying for higher quality. Phil, would you entertain this? Are you happy enough with Spotify or Deezer or Google Play Music? What do you use?
I only really listen to Barbie Girl, so I only need one copy.
Track.
Yeah. No, I actually listen to audiobooks more than anything. I have a iPhone which has got lots of stuff on it, but I rarely listen to anything other than audiobooks. I don't really know anything about streaming music services, to be honest, because I don't listen to music. I don't know music.
So you would have like a subscription to Audible then, maybe, or?
I have a subscription to Audible, yes.
Okay.
And the quality of them varies between crap and okay. But as it's only spoken word, it doesn't matter.
Okay, alright.
So as well as Barbie Girl, though, you'll have the U2 album, because that was forced upon you. But
no, yeah, it was forced upon me, and I've since deleted it and told them to shove it somewhere where I can't ever find it again, and they've done so.
Excellent. You keep Aqua, get rid of U2. I like your style.
Exactly.
Yeah. I actually have the Edge here with me at the moment. You're right there, Edge. Yeah, what you talking about? Well,
I have to say, at the announcement when they did that, you could see how uncomfortable the Edge felt about the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't agree with it. You could see on his face that he was unhappy that it was going this route.
You think?
Yeah.
Unhappy or confused?
Possibly a combination of the two, whereas Bono seemed to be very happy about it.
Well,
yeah, I wonder whose idea it was.
Was it, I guess the Edge is maybe just a bit confused that he's standing in front of all these people without an instrument, and where do we go from here? I would like to find out what Dire Straits' thoughts are on this, because I know they are a band who... Did they not stop production of albums for a good few years until... until someone reduced the price of CDs to make them more attractive?
Mark Knopfler has just recently released his new album on his own. He is no longer performing as Dire Straits. He's now releasing solo music. So.
Right. But I remember them doing that, and I'm just wondering what their stance might be on streaming music, because they do seem to be a wee bit more for the people, more so than the artists, and of course, artists make a lot of money, to be honest, and the record labels make a lot of money and things, and all this sort of thing would be great for emerging artists to be able to make some money and not be taken for a ride by a record label or whatever. But it would be interesting to get a whole kind of an other's perspective from artists who maybe don't want to sign up to this, and whilst they're probably not happy with the deals that they're getting from Spotify or whatever, what they would like to see happen.
I think one of the stances is the fact that services like Spotify, you can get access to music for free. And I think there's quite a lot of artists that see that as devaluing what they've done, because it's got to a point now where you talk to anybody on the street, what was the last album you bought? Oh, I just streamed from Spotify.
Yeah.
How much a month do you pay? Oh no, it's free. So, there's people, just as myself, that'll spend time in a studio, pay for the time in the studio and the engineer and travelling around, produce something, and then people expect to get it for free. And is that right? Is there another job where you're expected to do something for free that actually costs you a heck of a lot of money, as well as having to learn an instrument, to a certain proficiency, to buy all the equipment of a standard, to actually take it to a studio, and then somebody go, oh, I'm not paying for it. I know it's taken you a year to write, but I want it for free. Oh, is that okay? So, are you going to see me at a show? Are you going to pay to come to a gig? Oh no, somebody will YouTube it. It's a bit of a one-way street.
Well, that was the thing, wasn't it? It used to be the album sales were just really to advertise the gigs, the live performances that were going on. But now, I mean, most of these artists we're talking about don't tour a hell of a lot, do they? A lot of the ones that have been in the news, I don't remember seeing them touring the UK a huge amount.
Actually, they're looking to get rid of that altogether, wasn't it? Bruce Springsteen was going to do a holographic concert from his bedroom or something, I don't know.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Right, well, yeah, so Tidal's there. It's probably for the audio enthusiast more so than just the casual listener, I think. I
Taylor
can't
Swift,
imagine
that.
Yeah, we got Jay here. He's into his Taylor Swift,
He
aren't you,
does do
Jay?
incredibly catchy music.
Taylor Swift?
Yeah, it gets right into your head and you can't get it out again. Think of the Goat song. Was it called Trouble? Oh, some of you have not seen it. Look up Taylor Swift and Goat on YouTube.
Goat, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
There's a screaming goat that does the chorus of it perfectly.
Don't be searching for that on your work computer though. There could be all sorts of things.
Yes.
Okay, alright, fair enough. Right, what's next? We're going to move into... Oh, here, we were going to talk about home security, weren't we?
The theme of the show, yeah.
Yeah, and we're going to try and keep it to an hour. We're over an hour now and we haven't touched on home security. What we'll do is we'll talk about home security really quickly and then get to the bargain basement and Huawei. Yeah, okay. So, Jay, you and I both have these products from D-Link. I would say here they are, but obviously they're set up around the house. And Jay's holding one up there for the listeners to hear. I'll fire it over to his camera. There we go. This is the D-Link Monitor HD, which is an HD camera that shows off what you're doing in the house, really, and it's motion sensor, sound sensor, quite cheap. Stick it in, plug it in, tune it into your home Wi-Fi via WPS, and leave it and walk away. You can activate it from your phone when you're out and about and check in or be notified or set up various schedules to monitor your house when you're not there. In addition to that, they also sent over a little sensor which you can plug in that monitors people walking past, so you can watch a door or animals or any of those sorts of things, and a little plug thing that allows you to turn off and on electrical devices when you're not in the house, or schedule them to turn on at a later date if you're on holiday or whatever. And then there was the music streaming thing. I do have that knocking around somewhere, which you hook up to the auxiliary of a hi-fi or whatever, and you can stream your Spotify or Tidal to it, and listen to it on your hi-fi. So it's a nice little sort of home suite that allows you to do lots. No, it's just not just D-Link. I looked at one from Piper last week or the week before, and I think I've got another false cam or something like that coming to me as well. So home security it's a very important and essential part, and especially with a glowing, brimming economy at the moment, we're going to get undesirables coming into the country to take away our nice things that we happen to have around the house. So we need to secure them, secure our families, make sure that we aren't murdered in our beds at night. What do we do? How do we effectively do that without going out and spending, I was quoted £1,200 for 4 cameras around the house, recording to a DVR type thing that I could have stream out to my phone, and if I wanted a copy of any of the footage on it, I had to buy it from the person. He would burn the disc for me and I'd be able to give it to the police. It seemed a bit of a rip-off, to be honest, so I went and did it myself. Where do we go with home security? What do you use, Jay? What's your home security itinerary? I'm not asking how do you get into your house when you're not there.
No, I mean, security-wise, I've got a big bat, and I used to teach Kung Fu, so that's as far as security goes for me at the moment. Although I've got this D-Link stuff, and because I live in London, so my place isn't exactly huge. But what I do have is the camera looking over the living room area and the back door, and I've got the motion sensor just inside of the front door. So anybody coming downstairs or upstairs or through the front door triggers the sensor. I've got no pets, so that's not a problem. And if anybody's coming in the back way, it's covered by camera. I mean, obviously this is all plug and play. You use QR codes to set everything up on your phone and get the app and everything. And I didn't have a single problem with setting any of this up. The sensor did take a couple of resets just to play nice, but I think that's probably because I was running around doing trying to load everything up at the same time. The main difference between the D-Link stuff and what I class as a professional installation is that they all run off plug points. So it's great if you've got a plug where you want to cover. Not so great if you're in an older house where you might have a few plugs in the main room, nothing anywhere else. And also that also means anybody walking in can just unplug it. You do get notified when it's detached from the Wi-Fi, but then if somebody unplugs the camera, you've got nothing. You're not going to see anything. With the D-Link, you can't record video, but you can take a still. I noticed on the Piper you were able to record video, if that's right.
Yeah, but I couldn't actually get it off the device.
Why did it stay on the phone?
And it almost stayed in the camera, I think, and it would sync to the cloud, if memory serves.
Okay.
But I think D-Link might offer the same feature because I noticed there's an option to subscribe to their D-Link home cloud thing in the apps, and because there was no way to get, whilst it stored the photograph to the phone, there was no way to record a video to the phone, so that's probably integrated into the cloud service.
Or it might be one of those things that there's a bigger camera, the 360, which has to rotate like a little turret, so I wonder if that's a recordable thing.
It could be, but the price of these things it's still quite high in comparison to the way I've done it. You can't see it here. There's a pair of curtains over there with a porthole window behind it.
Right.
And on that window I have a phone on a £1 suction cup from Pound City Worldland Villa, and it's stuck to the window, plugged into an extension cable that comes around to the plugs over by the Amstrads there. That phone runs. I have been asked about this quite a few times, given the Piper thing, because I mentioned this setup in the video, so it's worth pointing this out. The phone runs an IP webcam thing that just peers out the window the whole time, and it's a Galaxy Nexus, so it's a 720 feed, which has a battery inside it as well, a SIM card plus wireless network, so it's on the wireless network until the power goes down. Because we've got a problem with the washing machine at the moment, and the power goes down quite frequently. So the camera doesn't go down because it relies on its battery. And if the Wi-Fi goes down, then it just goes over to 3G. And I've got this tablet here that has that's the view outside at the moment. I don't have night vision on this because I just don't have a phone with night vision. This runs another one called TinyCam, and it's got a motion tracker in it that's set up for certain sections of the screen. So there's a block here and a block here and then over here, so it doesn't pick everything up as a car drive past. It doesn't pick that up, but it picks up anyone who happens to walk up the driveway. Then oh, you can see a car coming now. It's just driven past there. Whenever it detects someone walking up the driveway, it takes a picture every 1.5 seconds, and then it uploads that to Dropbox into a shared folder between my wife and I. And then once Dropbox registers there's a new file, it communicates via If This Then That website to send a push bullet notification to my phone and my wife's phone to say that the camera has been activated and a picture has been taken. So we know when someone is walking up the driveway to the house. Sometimes it's a wee bit slow. It might take 2 minutes for it to come through if you're off out or whatever, or on crappy data signal land. But it's an old phone using a £2 app, an old tablet using another £2 app, or maybe £3 app, a suction cup from Pound City, Pound World or whatever, stuck up there, and that costs me virtually nothing. You can even use the free Dropbox solution. Push bullet is free, If This Then That is free. So in total that costs maybe £5. I'm not including the price of the phone, because otherwise that phone would just be sitting in a drawer, not being used. So I have another phone here, another phone here, that I'm going to be deploying around the house in the same way, and this tablet will become the hub to see all of those feeds. And I think that people need to look into this before they start going and spending any money on big security systems for their house, especially whenever some technicians are quoting £1,200 to do this sort of thing. Just a little bit, a tiny bit of effort. And as you say, Jay, the plug effect comes into it. Obviously you need to stick plugs to these things, but I guess it's something that you can cast your eye over when you're not having to spend that amount of money, and it just gives you that little peace of mind. And whenever you're out using it and you maybe show it to a pal and you say, here, look at this, what do you think of that? They're going, wow, and you go, I did that myself, that was me. Oh, hang on a second, I've just done, oh, the postman's walked up the driveway, and they're like, wow, you know that from right there. Yeah, I didn't pay a penny. Well, paid £5 or whatever. And I think that's home security on a budget, and it's a fairly reliable system. If Wi-Fi goes down, SIM card. Stick in a cheap SIM card from 3 that has preloaded a gig or whatever for just uploading pictures. Power goes down, battery's there, and the power isn't going to go down for any longer than, I think the battery will probably last about 12 hours if the screen's off, maybe more, 24 hours possibly, pushing it. So if you're covered in a power cut, or if the criminals decide to turn off the power to your house to get round the alarm system you might have, or any cameras that they think you might have. Simple, effective. Phil, comments or scenarios.
My setup is very simple, really. I've got a moat filled with sharks wearing laser beams. If they do get past that, I live in a hollowed out volcano, and they will be dropped into the liquid hot magma.
Oh, right. Where did you get that
You were
from?
on
IKEA?
I got that from Dr. Evil,
Oh, right.
along with my gold member.
Straight to the gutter.
Yes.
Jay, intelligent conversation or?
I want to hear about his life as a Bond villain.
No, I employ a very simple method. It's door locks and a dog.
Ah, right, okay.
Yeah.
A dog.
Yes, he will come to the door, bark at them, and bring them a slipper.
Well, the police did say that was one of the best deterrents, is having dogs, because we have two small dogs who are very yappy, very shouty, and he said that's straight away one of the biggest deterrents for any burglar, so
yeah,
there's a bit more safety there.
Yeah, mine's a relatively small dog, but it's got a bit of hound in it, so he's a cross hound and terrier, so he's quite yappy, but with a big bark. So he's probably is a decent deterrent.
Right. It's just interesting that home security it's not a main thought for you, but you would live in London, don't you?
No, I used to live in London. No, I live in nice. Rural part of the world now.
Okay, not with the high crime rate or anything then, no?
Don't think so, no. We've got an alarm as well. No. We have one.
Okay.
My brother-in-law employs his own mashup of security cameras for home, and the way he's done it, similar to you, he's got dedicated IP cameras that you can buy from many of the electronics boutiques across the country. He's then got it syncing to I think he's got an old Mac Mini actually he's used as his sort of media server. That also attaches to his IP cams. He can then dial into that from anywhere in the world, and he could, in theory, employ if this then that system to push out notifications to him as well, similar to you. I think it does have that capabilities built into it, and it's again not that complicated to deploy a system of that nature. He's gone for a computer with lots of storage, so it's not up in the cloud, so potentially he has the issue that if someone does cut the power, he loses his system. But I believe he has got an alarm for that. If it loses power, it notifies him straight away. So I remember it did that on holiday last year. So yeah.
Okay. Right. Oh yeah, that's another point. That the application that's on the tablet here is also available for the Fire TV. So if you're sitting watching television and someone knocks the door, you can switch over to it, see who it is, and go, so then. Very handy, very handy. Right. Okay. So yeah, home security is a big issue to me. I guess we haven't been burgled, not yet anyway. But my brother-in-law was, and then my wife's car was broken into recently. So they stole her house keys. So we're really clamping down here and getting everything sort of really. Where did you get your moat, Doug? Who did that for you, Phil?
Moats are us.
Right. Okay. Excellent. They do electric fences as well.
You should tell people as well. You also you lost your club card as part of it, didn't you? In the theft from the motor vehicle.
That's true. Yes. If anyone finds a club card with, it doesn't have people's names on it, but if anyone finds a club card, please send it to us. That'd be great. It's a bit inconvenient. We have to share one. Yeah. We've also got some triffids ordered that we're going to put in the garden as well. That'll That'll keep strangers at bay.
Yes, spitting flowers is always a great deterrent.
Yes, something that burglars tend to avoid. Good thinking.
I mean, I think the phone solution and that is great if you want to tackle tinkering with things. But I think, obviously, D-Link and Piper et al. Are going for aiming for people that just want to go, there, 5 minutes, it's installed and it's up and running. And you can, scare your other half by switching things on and off when you're nowhere near. And you can watch the face as you do it.
Very true, yes. Hadn't thought about that.
I spent quite a while in having the camera being fed to my computer, which is next to my girlfriend's computer. But I was whispering over the camera downstairs, so it was coming through the speakers. I know there's supposed to be a serious surveillance and security tools, but if you can't ask around with tech, what's the point?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's half the fun.
It's not just arsing about. If you could actually build it in so that it's a useful tool for you to use as well, so you can use it as a intercom-y type system to actually make your workflow or life easier.
Well, as I said in the... Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I did have the motion sensor, which is just in front of the front door, trigger this plug that was fitted to the kettle at the time. So when I walked through the door, the kettle started boiling.
Good thinking. But whenever you go upstairs, the kettle starts boiling again.
Well, obviously you've got to put the switch back down, but no, it just and with the D-Link app, you can have a number of smart plugs and sensors controlled, so you can have certain ones triggering other things. But I did say if it could hook up with if that then this and possibly Arduino just to trigger other interesting things. Because I did test it with having an extension cable with a lamp and radio fitted, so if something was triggered, the radio would switch on to talk radio, so it sounded like there was somebody in the house.
Oh yeah.
And the light go on. But then you start going down the Home Alone sort of route of weird setups of triggering different things, and mannequins in the window and
ball bearings on the floor.
On the Home Alone front, I read a witty comment on Facebook about when you boil Home Alone down to the basic plot, it's about two burglars hell-bent on trying to kill a child who's been abandoned by their parents at Christmas.
Yeah.
God bless Hollywood.
Yeah. Alright, Huawei. Okay, so Huawei have been given the green light, the A-OK from the British government to say that they are not spies.
Bonus.
I believe I knew that this was on the cards, but I think it was America more so than the UK. Phil, what do you think? Is this a filthy attempt to take over, or are we good? Are we buddies with the Chinese?
I remember a few years ago on the London Underground, Huawei were going to provide the infrastructure free of charge, I believe it was, and also put mobile phones down there. But it was vetoed based upon the fact they are part or fully owned by the Chinese government.
Yes.
So it's been going through the rounds, and this is the final one to say they are okay. So we might get more Wi-Fi on the tube, although most of them have now got it, or possibly mobile phones underground. Currently in London, we've only got it on the platforms, but I think there was talk that we may get it in the tunnels as well. So now this is signed off as being okay. They may deploy it as they originally were planning to, which would be wonderful.
Yeah, that'd be good actually. That there's nothing more annoying than getting onto the tube and there's no friggin' signal, Wi-Fi or anything.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a game that came out from Gameloft the other week, and it requires a full connection to the internet the whole time you're playing it.
Yeah.
And it needs to be a decent quality one. And so it's really annoying. I can't play it on the tube.
What's the game?
Dungeon Hunter 5.
Oh, yes, yes.
Mm.
Know it well. I think I played the third one, or one of them, yes.
I'm level 27 now, so I'm going for it.
Ooh. Okay, right. And I mentioned Huawei because we're going into the bargain basement, and there's a couple of Huawei's there, but we're not going to go straight to them. First up, we're going to go to Tesco, and they've reduced the price of their quite wonderful Hudl 2. I know a lot of people like this device a great deal. It was a Arcos built tablet that was very family friendly and cheap to buy. Well, it's even cheaper now, and you can get it in a bunch of different colours. It's down to 99 quid from 130, which it was before that. It comes in orange and red and turquoise, white, pink, purple, blue and black. I think that's a fantastic little deal there. Obviously there must be a new Hudl on the way for them to be reducing it down, not quite so drastically, but to a recommended price.
Great for your home security system.
That would work very well. Thank you, Jay. That's perfect. Yeah. What's in this is an 8.3-inch screen with specifications that are useful. There's a quad-core processor inside it with 16 gigabytes of memory, with a micro SD card slot, 1.2 megapixel front-facing camera and 5 megapixel rear-facing camera, and Wi-Fi. So yeah, it's
The tablet.
a grand device. I think we rated it quite well just before Christmas as a decent tablet to consider. Next up we have HTC. Over at O2 you can get the HTC 510, which is a 4G mobile, for £80 on pay-as-you-go. This has 8 gigabytes inside it, which I know one of our listeners was having woes with it, with HTC, because I think they got the 620 and it's got 4 gigs inside it and just ran out of space almost immediately. Maybe, I can't remember what. But yeah, for quality build, decent hardware, you can't go wrong with an HTC Desire. 510 for 80 quid seems a fairly simple little thing. It looks like a miniature M9, if you like, or an M8, sorry. That's the one. Okay, following up that, Clove.co.uk, one of our favourite little websites, is selling the Huawei Honor 6, which I have somewhere, and I honestly love it. I really do. I think it's a really, really good phone. They're doing it for £191.66p, which, including VAT, works out at £229.99. That's brilliant value. You could go far worse than this phone. Really is. Very excellent phone. Very good quality build. Bright, colourful screen.
If you squint, it looks like an iPhone 6.
Well, yeah, there's the 6 and the 6 Plus on this, so I don't know where they got the naming conventions for those, but yeah, it looks a lot more like the iPhone 5S maybe, but oh, hello. It appears I'm getting a dessert delivery.
Oh, what have you got?
Cake time!
It's not cake, it's says
Chocolate Sunday!
Chocolate Sunday.
They're all shocked at a chocolate sundae. Thank you very
I fell
much.
asleep.
Oh.
Or I would have brought you up crumble.
How dare you
Oh!
Do you want coffee?
say? Yeah, well, we're coming to the end, so yeah.
Can I have coffee and crumble?
Jay wants coffee and crumble as well. Hop to it. Okay. Right, yeah, so that's £223. That's good price, very quality device there. Next up, I think there was some eyebrows raised at this one over on eBay. A seller, oh God, I'm actually looking at this. There's only 2 available now. By morning they'll be gone. But the Moto 360 smartwatch is for sale for £125, which is a bargain for probably the
the favourite smartwatch on the market at the moment.
I quite like the Gear R.
The Gear R?
Is it Gear R? What am I thinking of? The
the LG one.
LG Watch, Watch R. Yeah.
Watch
Sorry,
R,
yeah. Yeah.
This was the first watch-ish looking smartwatch.
Watch. Yeah.
Yeah. Before that, they looked like square.
Like the iPhone, the iWatch, the Apple Watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, they look like the
square
Apple
thing.
Watch before that. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
mine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or like mine actually, but mine.
Yours is quality. That looks like a Casio baby toy.
It's a G-Shock Bluetooth smartwatch. Well, not completely dumb watch.
Not as dumb as that.
Jay, what's that?
It's a Rado NCC 303. Not smart at all, but it's still square. I've just noticed there's about 22 people watching the 360 smartwatch, so if you want it, better get it now.
Jump on.
Should I? No, I can't. I've got that, and I don't use it as much as it should. Yeah, okay. Well, 125 quid. If you don't have one, that's a good place to start. My brother has one, and he quite likes it. Right, the ZTE Blade L2 is being sold by Scan. I have one of these currently, and I quite like it. It's pretty good, especially for the money. You can't really go wrong with ZTE that much. I think it's only got 4 gigs on it, so you can't go wrong. It's £53.40p on scan.co.uk. Quad-core 1.3 gigahertz processor, runs 4.2 out of the box. 5-inch screen, 5 megapixel camera, 1 gig of RAM, and that 4 gigs ROM. But 55 quid's not too bad for that phone because it's quite a nice phone. The camera's actually surprisingly good on it. And finally, easily our favourite bargain of the last wee while is the Huawei Honor 4X. This is a 4G 5.5-inch 8GB dual SIM free phone with a large octa-core Kirin 620 processor with 2 gigabytes of RAM, 8 gigabyte ROM, 13 megapixel camera, and a 5 megapixel front-facing camera. It's proper, this phone. It really is. It's a good looking device, very much like the Honor 6. Maybe slimmed down just a wee bit for the kind of budgety market, but other than that, I don't think we can fault this at all. There's nothing on there that's glaring out going, this is a trade-off so that we can get the cheaper price, other than possibly that unheard of octa-core processor, the Kirin, whatever it was called. Yeah.
Can I throw one more in actually, please, Gareth?
Oh, far away.
Just shown my G-Shock smartwatch. Smartish watch, it's Bluetooth connected, will give you notifications, that sort of thing. They are currently £55 in yellow, or a sort of aquamarine blue, or a bright red on Groupon at the moment. For a £200 watch, 180 quid watch, it's pretty cheap. And actually, for what it is, it's a G-Shock watch for 55 quid, it's cheap.
Oh,
So,
right,
nice.
okay.
There we go. Groupon.
Okay, so that's phone and watch. Everyone's sorted out and happy. And get yourself a Hudl tablet. You've got every bit of hardware you need for a holiday.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, well, that brings us to the end. We've done our home security special with the home security bit sellotaped on. If you want to get in touch with us and complain that you were very excited about a deep and thorough analysis of home security, you can do better by yes, emailing Matt at podcast@tracymatt.co.uk. Make sure that all complaints say Matt at the top, because he's worth complaining to. Or you can phone us at Matt's house on 0208 123 3757. Swear as much as you like, it's encouraged. You can find me on Twitter, where you can't complain, at Gareth Myles, GarethMyles. Jay, you're on Twitter as well, aren't you?
Yeah, at JayGarrett. That's at JGarrett, or at GadgetingNews.com. And I think that's either coffee, crumble, or all the above being delivered.
It is coffee.
Garrett.
Thank you very much.
And I'll do your tray here. That's hot rhubarb crumble.
Oh, very nice. Thank you very
Custard,
much.
but it's very hot.
Oh, right.
Rhubarb crumble, very nice.
Can I take this?
Okay.
Is that my coffee and crumble then?
Yes, that's for you, Jay. Come get it. Thank you. Okay, sorry. Yes, you can get Dan as well, who unfortunately wasn't able to join us, at Mobile Man Dan. And of course, you can follow the site, Tracy and Matt, at Tracy and Matt. I think we have both Tracy with an E and Tracy without an E. And then there's Phil.
I am at LOW405 on Twitter.
Awesome. That sounds like a bit of a wrap, and we'll try and end it early so people can get back to their lives. Alright, well, thanks for listening, and hopefully we'll be back next week, God willing, for another round of fun tech tales and woes and conversations. Alright, bye-bye.
Good night.
Cheerio.
And you've got the wine out.